Hello there, I'm Taylor. Welcome to Right Brain Affairs. This is an extra little embellishment video about how to make basic platform shoes for gnomes. Started with this little mommy, which you see in the upper corner, having her baby's feet in the pack, too, but dragging on the floor. So she was definitely a little too short. I just wanted to add a little bit of height and went ahead and cut out the basic shoe forms. As you can see, I'm saving the corners of this cardboard. It's my thing about saving, imagine my house. But I'm going to use them in the extreme platform shoes for Mama. You can find more on making these kinds of gnome slippers and shoes and boots and sandals on another video that I made by that name. So we're cutting basic shoe forms. There'll be about 4 of them. A couple are smaller because they're going to be insert. I want to just mention is that I use a glue gun that has 2 heats. One is very hot and one is not so hot, so a little easier to work with. This one, it's got also a little rubber nozzle on it. Makes it more manageable for my fingers. That's just going to be filler in the middle for the top 2 shoe forms. We'll caress them, and then I'll have the height I want. You can see that this cardboard, which is the filler, is a little thicker than the cereal box cardboard. So this is as thick as I want it. And then I have another video coming up that will be extreme and high heel platform for Mama Gnomes or Daddy Gnomes. Show stuff. I like to use felt for the bottoms of the shoes. It's really good at just sitting straight and flat. Everything that I've gotten, of course, cost me nearly nothing. The dollar store is this sock, and I'm going to use the exact same sock that I stuffed her with. I went a little over with the felt so that I will be able to cut and squish and make it match better. And that will be the color of her feet. Now this kind of sock fabric is really good at fraying, and the rice will even come out, you know. So I've learned to do things, and that's the challenge of scraps and inexpensive fabrics and socks and things from the dollar store. Learning to compensate. Working with your limits, but going over and above what you're given. And then you've got a little gnome that's cost you maybe 10 cents, and you can sell it for whatever or give it away. There's other challenges. The filler's not going to come out so much. The fluff that I'm fluffing it with is those little tiny pieces of whatever the soft sock is made out of. I use the glue to seal. One of the other challenges, besides my dogs bugging me while I do this, is that with scraps you only have little tiny pieces. And I like to challenge myself to make things match. This was a table runner from the dollar store. The shoes I first started with that made her very short. And I'm limited with what I'm left. You can also see in the far right corner, she needs to be a little taller. And that table runner scrap does not fit to overlap, so I'm adding a second little corner, figuring out what corner will work, and using again the hot glue to keep it from fraying. It gets a little challenging. The more you practice with your glue gun, the better. And I have that second little glue gun without a nozzle. The nozzle disappeared, and I use it on high to eliminate, kind of like you would a heat gun. And I have a heat gun, but it's easier to just go in and point where the glue needs to come off. Except that some fabrics are really resistant. Anyway, we are sealing it up now on top and bottom. And we're going to make sure that the felt fits better. I want the definite divide between the feet to show. So I'm cutting into that from the felt angle, and then I'll do the socks better. And then I'll have to re-glue to make sure they're not up, make sure they're down, and they're not going to fray. So we've got the bottom part, the red part, fabric, is going to go against her body. And the little feet part, her own fabric, sock fabric, and scrap, is going to have her little feet stuffed into shoes. I've chosen to use the same fabric for her shoes, as you'll see. I bought a bunch of these table runners one year from the dollar store, and they do fray really easily, but they'll have an edge that's pre-sewn, and so I kind of devised using that edge. I'm hemming the one side that isn't pre-hemmed with the hot glue. I swear sometimes this fabric is like made of plastic, so a little hot glue kind of melts it together. I'm not going to get a lot of fraying. And then this is what I call a border for the platform shoes. And that's what I'm using to make the shoe. Around the corners and into the toes, making sure what visible divide there is in her feet is very clear and squished down and no fuzz coming out. So as you can see, I'm trimming the border area, which is actually the platform, so that I can fit the border on pretty much precisely. It doesn't hang over at the bottom as much as it will the top, and that's intentional. Speaking of intentional, if my dogs don't interrupt, I wanted to pass on a little bit that I get about making gnomes, which is it's frivolous and what's the point, and it's just a hobby, and it's not real art. You're making dolls. Things in life are way more serious, especially these days. But my little bit of wisdom is, and I'm pretty old, that especially when times are hard, it's a good time to find things to feel happy about, joyful in, be interesting, take you out a little bit and let you enjoy whatever it is you're doing and not think about much else. And then of course you can sell them, so there can be a real practical way when people hit you with hobby. So from here, I've already started to push the top down. You see over her little fuzzy foot, which frays and lint goes everywhere unless you glue it really good. That's the shoe. She's got those little kind of ballerina type shoes, little girl shoes. And so the very toe tip bends over her toes and comes all the way around, wraps around. And here's where I disappear the visible fraying with the hot glue. There's a reason why I don't cut into the corners like we do with many things to make them fit better, and I just glue the whole thing down. It's because this fabric really does fray. The less cutting, the better. Finishing up the last of our little embellishments. And now Mama will be able to hold her baby in the pack without the baby's feet dragging the floor. No shame in being short.